Hello, this is Mingder Chen. I'm a professor of Management Information System at Smith School of Business and Economics at California State University, Channel Island. In this unit, we're going to talk about personality, attitude, and work behavior. And we're going to start with personality. Let me first quote a chapter from 道德经, which is also called Lao Tzu, written by Lao Tzu, which is the author's name. In the chapter 33, Lao Tzu said that knowing others is intelligent. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. And mastering others is the strength of yours. But mastering yourself is true power, which means self-management. And contenting yourself with what you have is rich. Persevering through adversity is the strong will. Finding your root and staying in the right place so that you will endure. Following the Tao, and Tao also sometimes referred to the way, so that your spirit will live forever. Here we're really just focusing on the first sentence, which is knowing others is intelligence and knowing yourself is true wisdom. And because management is defined as the art of getting things done through the effort of other people, therefore, knowing other people in terms of personality, ability, and whatever you need to know about other people, which could be your colleague, which could be your customer, your supplier, your boss, and your subordinates, it's very important to help you to manage the relationship better. But before you do that, it is important for you to kind of know yourself, know your own personality, etc. So why it is important for you to know yourself and other people's personality, which may lead to their attitude and work behavior, is because if you know your personality or somebody else's personality, there's no true right and wrong. And for certain people with certain personality, certain type of job may be better for them. This is actually one way for you to look at your own job search and careers. And we kind of have three different concepts. One is what we know, it's a job. However, just having a job doesn't mean you have a career. A career means that you will, in that industry or in that company, you have a career path which you can kind of climb up the ladder in the organization, or sometimes you jump to the other organization but get a better offer. However, having a career is not the same as that you find something that's your lifelong calling, which means that's something you're really compassionate about. So the simple definition here is that a job is probably what pays you. I'm not going to say what pays you well, because sometimes you get a job to just pay you barely to make a living. But you need the money. So you need to get a job first. And if you can get a job that actually you're really good at, then you can turn that into a career, because you're good at it, you will perform well, you will be rewarded, you will be promoted. And the calling is really what you love. This Venn diagram is really showing that it is possible your job is actually part of your career, and then your career is really your calling. That would be the ideal situations. So think about these three different things when you're looking for a job or develop your career plan or kind of soul searching your lifelong calling. So let's start with the people, individual. And because for successful organization, we need to have the right mix of individual. Sometimes we refer to this maybe diversity program, in the right position at the right time. And what each individual brings to the table are the following things. One is obviously they need certain skill. However, personality may matter, and that's what we're going to talk about next. And their ability, okay, the ability to learn, the ability to kind of tough it out, etc. The value, what's their value system, what they treasure the most. All of this matter when you really try to hire somebody to work for you. In psychological theory, there's a lot of so-called personality models. One is a popular personality trait. With the acronym, we call it OCEAN. And O stands for openness, C stands for conscientiousness, E stands for extraversion, and the opposite of it is introversion. And A stands for agreeableness, and N stands for neuroticism. In the textbook, they kind of define this 5 different personality traits. And there's certain trait which is considered in general good one, like conscientiousness is considered a good personality trait. And the neuroticism is in general considered not so good personal trait. And in terms of extraversion, most of people believe in our society believe that's a good personality trait, but there are argument that introversion person can also contribute greatly to the workplace, to our society. And here's a TED talk by Susan Cain, which he considered himself as kind of introvert person. And you can kind of see how she kind of described the power of introverts, people who has the introversion personality. So I'm not going to define all this 5 different types. There's also a good video describe this 5 personality traits, and you can find it in textbook. Okay. If you'd like, you can actually follow this link and then take an online test to find out your own personality trait based on this so-called Big 5 personality. And I have an assignment that I posted and asked you to kind of read this Taiji diagram, which is actually a symbol for a Taoism's school of thought in China, and it's actually very well recognized symbol in Chinese society. Actually, you can find similar symbol in other Asian cultures in Europe as well. And for some background information, you can read this article. In the article, they actually embedded a video, and this is a pretty decent video describing the yin and yang. And because, so go to the assignment area. It's a discussion to discuss, ask you to kind of look at the diagram and see what you have observed and what may inspire you, and respond in that discussion forum. The discussion I set up, it's actually, you're not going to see other students posting unless you post something first. So if you don't see anything, don't panic, or don't say that I'm the first one. You have to post something to see others. If you don't see many other posting by other students, which could means that you're really early in terms of respond to this assignment, and then wait a little bit and come back after your posting to see other people's posts. So you can kind of learn each other in terms of when you all see the same diagram, what come to your mind in terms of interpret what you see here. And the reason I mentioned this Taiji diagram is for a reason. It's Carl Jung, which is a very well-known psychologist, probably in the early 20th century, developed actually a system of personality type. You can take the test here. Carl Jung actually is a friend of a German scholar, Richard Wilhelm, who actually translated the Book of Change, which is a classic which actually developed from this Taiji and Yin Yang principle. And so he's kind of familiar with the Yin Yang philosophy, and to some extent, from what I have read, he was inspired by that and eventually developed this personality type test. And as a bonus, you can take the test here, but more official and thorough assessment of your own personality types, if you have a chance, contact CI, Career Development Center, and I believe you can take the a commercially available personality type test called MBTI, which I will discuss in the next slide, next few slides. And then they will have a trained, certified MBTI career counselor to kind of explain the result to you. The reason they offer this service is that when you're looking for a job, sometimes you have to look at your own personality, know yourself, and then decide what kind of job may be best for you in terms of fit with your personality. So the MBTI is called Myers-Briggs Type Indicators. They are basically 4 dimensions, in my opinion. There are 4 type indicator, but in reality, there's really just like yin and yang. We have like extroversion, we have introversion, we have people who rely on sensing, people who tends to rely on intuition, people who may be more on the analytical thinking, and people who maybe just trust their feeling more, people who kind of use judgments, and people who rely on perception. So let me quickly give you a brief kind of definition. So the first one, extroversion and introversion, which are really help you to decide whether you are really kind of outgoing personality, or you're inwardly focused. If you're always staying home, don't want to actually work with a lot of people, you prefer to be standalone, then you're kind of introversion. Sensing intuition is related how you take in information, how you kind of receive and the informations. And sensing, you focus on reality, you pay attention to concrete facts and detail, and then you prefer ideas that have practical application. So here's kind of the definition of what sensing is in this test. And intuition, you kind of have imagination for all the possibility. You look at big picture, enjoy new ideas and concepts, and etc. The third dimension has 2 yin and yang string. One is thinking, one is feeling. This is related to your preference in making decisions. and thinking you're very analytical. You try to decide things fairly, and however, on the feeling side, you make your decision based on your personal values and how your action may affect others. You value or treasure harmony, forgiveness, more than just try to be a straight face. And the last dimension, fourth dimension, is that how do you prefer to live your outer life? And your judging means you think in terms of rules and deadline, and then those should be respected. Perceiving people see rules and deadline as flexible. And so this is just another dimension. You can kind of take the test or just study this and kind of figure out which side you may be in this 4 different dimensions, and reflect a little bit in terms of what's the benefit to be more. Let's come back here. When you make decision, you tend to be very analytical, try to find flaws in an argument, or you're more on the feeling side and try to promote harmonies and try to please others, etc. And eventually, in this MBTI test, you will be based on this 4 dimension, which side you may be leaning. You may feel match one of the 16 category in terms of personality type. We have actually 4 dimensions. This as an example. Each dimension has two sides, like in this case, judging and perceiving. For instance, this is J, so we know this judging, this thinking, this sensing, this is introversion. So if you're a person leaning towards those 4 aspects in the 4 dimension that we offer, then you may be consider. Don't take this too seriously. You may be a person which are pretty straightforward and doing what should be done, and charge ahead with it. Okay, so that's kind of a brief personality introductions and how they may be related to your job and job seeking efforts. We're going to end here, but continue our discussions like attitude and also work behavior. Thank you.